मंजू की जाय नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार अश्वतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार अश्वतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार अश्वतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार अश्वतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार अश्वतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय नित्यल्लभ विष्णु महाभागवत श्री गौकिशोरस बाबाजी महाराज की जाय नित्यल्लभ विश्व श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय नित्यल्लभ विष्णु वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय श्री रूपानुगौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जाय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जाय श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जाय नाम चय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय श्री क्षेत्र मंडल कौरमंडल व्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदाता गिरिराज महाराज की जाय श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जाय श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय श्री उद्धव गीत की जाय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणेति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूत हृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनं हृदन्तस्थो यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतं। नष्टप्रयेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्तवृंद। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, everybody. Raseshwari Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, Ganga Mataji, and Satya Mataji, and Sudevi Didi, and Madhavi Didi. Dandavat Pranams to all of you. Hare Krishna. So, now we continue on with chapter 21. What is the title? It is the process. Krishna explains to Uddhava the process of deity worship. We read up to verse 23 yesterday, so I'll just read the translations up to that point, so we get the flow. Shri Uddhava said, O Lord, please describe the procedures for worshipping you in your form as the deity in the temple. What qualifications must a devotee possess to worship you in this way? And what are the rules and regulations to be observed? All the great sages, such as Narad Muni, Vyasadeva, and Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, have declared that such worship is supremely beneficial for all members of human society. O most magnanimous Lord, you first gave instructions on the process of deity worship to Lord Brahma. Then they were passed on by him to his sons, headed by Bhrigu, and Lord Shiva instructed his wife Parvati. Therefore, I consider that worship of you in your form as the deity is the best spiritual practice for the members of all the varnas and ashrams, even for women and shudras. O lotus-eyed one, O Lord of the demigods, please explain to me, your surrendered servant, this process by which one can be delivered from the bondage of material existence. The Supreme Lord said, My dear Uddhava, the procedures prescribed in the Karma-kanda sections of the Vedic literature are innumerable, and so I shall explain this subject to you briefly from the beginning. There are 3 methods for worshipping me. There's the Vedic method, Tantrika method, and those 2 methods mixed. One should select the method that is suited for him and then worship me according to the prescribed rules and regulations. Now please listen faithfully as I explain to you how one who has become twice born by observing the relevant Vedic prescriptions should worship me with devotion. A twice-born person should sincerely worship me, his worshipable Lord, by offering appropriate paraphernalia and loving devotion to my deity form, or to my form appearing upon the ground, in fire, in the sun, in water, or within his heart. First, one should clean his teeth and bathe. Then, a second cleansing of the body should be performed by smearing it with earth and chanting mantras from both the Vedas and Tantras. That's concentrating the mind on me, one should worship me by performance of his prescribed duties, such as chanting the Gayatri mantra 3 times a day. Such performances are enjoined by the Vedas, and they purify the worshipper of all reactions of karma. The deity form of the Lord appears in 8 varieties: stone, wood, metal, earth, paint, sand, the mind, and jewels. This is the verdict of the scriptures. My dear Uddhava, the deity form of the Lord, who is the shelter of all living entities, can be established in 2 ways: movable or immovable. A permanent deity, having been installed, can never be sent away or immersed in a body of water. The deity that is temporarily established can be invited and sent away, but these 2 rituals should be always performed when the deity is traced upon the ground. The deity should be bathed with water, except if the deity is made of clay, paint, or wood, in which cases a thorough cleansing without water is enjoined. One should worship me in my deity form by offering the most excellent paraphernalia. But an unalloyed devotee who is free from material desires can worship me with whatever is easily obtainable, or even within the mind. My dear Uddhav, while worshipping the deity, bathing and decorating with beautiful clothes, ornaments, and flowers, while worshipping the deity, bathing and decorating with beautiful clothes, ornaments, and flowers are the most pleasing offerings. When the deity is drawn on a sanctified surface, the offering of tattva vinyas is most important. Don't know what that is. Oblations of sesame seeds and barley soaked in ghee are the best oblations poured into the sacrificial fire. Worship consisting of the upastan and arghya is the best worship of the sun. One should worship me in the form of water by offerings of water. Whatever my devotee offers to me, even if it is just a little water, is most dear to me. Just curious, what is tattva vinyas? Oh, it's here. The Lord should be invoked and established on sanctified ground by chanting of mantras. I guess that's what tattva vinyas is. I do not accept even the most opulent offerings if they are given by non-devotees. But I am very pleased to accept even the most insignificant thing offered with love by the hands of my devotee. I am certainly most pleased when nice fragrant oil, incense, flowers, and palatable foods are offered to me with love. After purifying himself and collecting all the paraphernalia for worship, one should sit down on a mat of kusha grass, facing either east or north. If the deity is permanently installed, the worshipper should sit facing the deity. Thereafter, the devotee should perform the ritual known as nyas. That's the process of purifying oneself by touching the various parts of the body while chanting mantras. So he should perform the ritual known as nyas on his own body, and he should perform it on that of the deity. He should then take from the deity the remnants of previous offerings, such as flowers and flower garlands. He should then prepare a pitcher of water for cleansing the deity. He should then sprinkle the water of that vessel on the place of worship, the paraphernalia for worship, and his own body. That's the bhuta shuddhi, right? Wait, no, there's two kinds of shuddhi. I forgot. Bhuta shuddhi is your body, and then I forgot what the other one's called. Next, he should decorate 3 pitchers of water with sandalwood paste and flowers, which will be used for offering padya to the deity. Next, the worshipper should purify the 3 vessels. He should sanctify the vessel holding water for padya, that's the water for washing the Lord's lotus feet, by chanting Hridyaya Namaha, the vessel containing water for arghya by chanting Shirase Swaha, and the vessel containing water for Achmaniya, that's washing the Lord's mouth, by chanting Shikayai Vashat. The Gayatri mantra should also be chanted for all 3 vessels. Okay, so that's where we read up to yesterday. Hare Krishna Gargraj ji, Dandavat Pranam. Pinde Vaivyagnisam Shude Hrit Parmastang Parang Mama Anvim Jiva Kalam Dhyayen Nadante Siddha Bhavitam. Thereafter, the worshipper should dry his body with the air from his stomach, burn his body with fire, and then revive it by showering nectar from the moon, which is situated on his forehead. He should then meditate on my subtle transcendental form of Sri Narayan, which is situated on the lotus of the heart by the vibration of the sacred syllable Om. This form is meditated upon by perfected sages. Sārārtha-darśinī vritti by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. Thereafter, one should dry his body with the hair from the stomach, from the air from the stomach, burn it with fire, and then revive it by showering nectar from the moon, which is situated on his forehead. Well, sounds very, I don't know what the word is, trippy. Okay. In this way, one should meditate on my form as Narayan, which is situated in the lotus of the heart. The pranava, or Om, has 5 parts: A, U, M, the nasal bindu, and the reverberation, nada. After chanting Om, one should meditate on the transcendental form of Lord Narayan. It is stated in the Vedas that the Supreme Lord himself is the transcendental sound vibration of the Vedas and the ultimate goal of Vedanta. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. This ritual is called Bhuta Shuddhi, or purifying oneself. Before worshipping the Lord, one must perform Bhuta Shuddhi. Tayatma bhutaya pinde vyapte sampujatan maya avahyarchadishu stapya nyastangam mam prapujayet. When my transcendental form, which pervades his body, is perceived by the worshipper, he should worship me within his mind, and then externally invoke me in the deity with full concentration. He should then perform nyas on my transcendental body before beginning his worship. Sārārtha-darśinī. The Supersoul illuminates the entire body of the devotee, just as the light of a lamp illuminates a room. One should first worship the Lord mentally, and then, with full concentration, invoke the Supreme Lord within the deity. In this way, one installs the deity and then performs nyas on his own body as well as that of the deity. Padyopasparsharhanadin upacharan prakalpayet dharmadibhishchanavabhi kalpayitva sanam mama parmam ashtadalam tatra karnika kesarojvalam ubhabhyam vedatantrabhyam mahyam tu bhayasiddhaye. The worshipper should mentally place an asan that is decorated with the personified deities of religion, knowledge, renunciation, opulence, and my 9 spiritual energies. He should think of my sitting place as an effulgent lotus flower with 8 petals with saffron filaments within the whorl. Then, following the regulations of the Vedas and Tantras, he should offer me padya, arghya, achamaniya, and other items of worship. By following this procedure, one is awarded material enjoyment in this life and attains liberation after death. Sārārtha-darśinī. What should one do before offering arghya and achamaniya to the deity? One should imagine a yoga pitta asan for the Lord, consisting of religion, knowledge, renunciation, and opulence, and he should mentally place it on an 8-petal lotus flower. He should then worship the Lord by offering various paraphernalia while following the rules and regulations laid down in the Vedas and Tantras. As a result of this worship, one obtains material enjoyment and liberation. Sudarshanam panchajanyam kodashishu dhanurhalan mushalam kostubam malam srivatsam chanupujayet. One second, I need to blow my nose. One should then worship in order the Lord's Sudarshan Chakra, Panchajanya Conchal, flower garland, sword, arrows, bow, plow, mushala weapon, Kaustuba gem, and Srivatsa. I thought the mushala was the plow, but maybe it... anyways. Sārārtha-darśinī. One should worship the Sudarshan chakra and plow that are in the Lord's hands, the 8 weapons on the 8 sides of the Lord, the Kaustuba gem around the Lord's neck, and the curl of hair, Shrivatsa, on his chest. Now, Gauḍīya Bhāṣya by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Prabhupāda. The name of the four-armed Lord Narayan's chakra is Sudarshan. His conch shell is named Panchajanya. His club is named Kaumudaki. His lotus is named Shrivas. His bow is named I thought it's Sharanga. It's not Sharanga, it's Sharanga. His sword is named Nandaka. His gem around his neck is named Kaustuba, and the curl of hair on his chest is named Shrivatsa. I never knew the name of his lotus. The lotus is Shrivas. No, Shrivas. I don't know if it's... Sometimes I get the diacritics wrong. I don't know. Okay. So is the Mushala the club? But Gada is a club. Unless there's 2 names for Gada. No. Mushala is the plow, I thought. No, Halan is the plow. Haladar. Anyhow, let's see what the Mushala is. Durgam Vinayakam Vyasam Vishvakshenam Gurun Suran Sve Stane Tabhimukan Pujayet Prokshanadibhi. Oops, I skipped 28. Sorry. Nandan Sunandam Garudan Prachandam Chandamevacha Mahabalam Balam Chaiva Kumudam Kamudekshanam. Thereafter, one should worship the 8 associates of the Lord: Nanda, Sunanda, Prachanda, Chanda, Mahabala, Bala, Kumuda, and Kumudekshana, in the 8 directions, and worship Garuda in front. Durgam Vinayakam Vyasam Vishvakshenam Gurun Suran Sve Stane Tabhimukan Pujayet Prokshanadibhi. Thereafter, with offerings such as Arghya, one should worship Durga, Vinayaka, Vyasa, Vishvaksena, the spiritual masters, and the demigods headed by Indra. All these personalities should be in their proper places, facing the deity. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. All of these personalities are associates of Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha. One must worship them while performing worship of Lord Narayan. This Durga and Vinayaka, that's Ganesh, are not the Durga and Ganesh of the Devi Dham, of the material world, who award material enjoyment. Just checking. Haribol, Kishore Prabhu. Chandano Shira Karpura Kumkuma Guruvasitai Salilai Snapayen Mantrair Nityada Vibhave Sati Swarna Garmanuvakena Mahapurusha Vidyaya Porushena Suktena Samabhirajanadibhi. As opulently as his wealth permits, a worshipper should bathe the deity daily with water mixed with sandalwood paste, camphor, ushira root, kumkum, and aguru. While bathing the deity, he should recite Vedic hymns such as the Swarna Gharma, Mahapurusha Vidya, Purusha Sukta, and Rajana. Sārārtha-darśinī. One should worship the associates of the Lord in their respective places, facing the altar from the 8 directions. Garuda should be worshipped in front of the altar, Durga and others in their specified places, the spiritual masters to the left, the demigods headed by Indra toward the east. One should worship all these personalities by sprinkling purified water and then offering Arghya. One should recite the Swarna Gharma mantra, beginning with Swarnam Gharma Parivedanam. the Mahapurusha Vidya mantra beginning with Jitante Pundarikaksha Namaste Vishvabhavana, the Purusha Sukta mantra beginning with Sahasra Shirsha, and the Rajana mantra from the Samaveda. Devotional songs should also be sung. The word Adi also means mantras, such as the Rohini mantras, and these should also be chanted. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. The Purusha Sukta mantras from the Rig Veda begin with Om Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. Vastro Pavita Bharana Patrasra Gandalepanai Alankur Vita Sapremar Bhakto Mam Yatochitam. My devotees should then lovingly decorate me with fine clothing, ornaments, a sacred thread, marks of tilak, a flower garland, a garland of tulsi leaves, sandalwood paste, and other scented substances. Sārārtha-darśinī. The word patrasrag refers to a garland of tulsi leaves. Padyam achmaniyam cha Kandam sumanasokshatan dhupadipo paharyani tadyan me shraddhayarchaka. The worshipper should faithfully offer me padya, arghya, achmaniya, sandalwood pulp, incense, a ghee lamp, atapa rice, and flowers. Gudapaya sasarpingshi Shashkolya pupamodakan samyava dadisu pangscha naivedyam satikalpayet. Within his means, the devotee should offer me sugar candy, sweet rice, ghee, shashkoli, that's rice flour cakes, apupa, that's various sweet cakes, modaka, that's steamed rice flour dumplings filled with sweet coconut and sugar. No, I thought modaka was ladus. I'm pretty sure modaka means ladus. Anyways, maybe there's another kind of thing. Samyava, wheat cakes made with ghee and milk covered with sugar and spices, yogurt, vegetable soups, and other palatable food. I'm just curious. What does modakam mean in Sanskrit? Let's see, image of modakam. Oh, I was wrong. Look, there's a modak. Okay, fine. I admit. Sārārtha-darśinī. Preparations made with gur and sugar candy, as well as sweet rice, fried rice made with ghee, milk cakes, sweets made with wheat flour, pancakes, and other palatable food should be offered to the Lord if one has the capacity. Abhyangon mardanardasha danta dhava bishechanam anadya gita nrityani parvani syur utanvaham. On special days such as Ekadashi and every day, if possible, the deity should be massaged with scented oil, shown a mirror, offered a eucalyptus stick for brushing his teeth, bathed with 5 kinds of nectar, offered varieties of opulent foods, and entertained with singing and dancing. Sārārtha-darśinī. In the early morning, one should wake up the deity and offer him a small twig for brushing his teeth. One should then massage the deity's body with scented oil, remove the oil from his body by applying kumkum and camphor, bathe the deity with milk, yogurt, ghee, honey, and scented water. Thereafter, one should decorate the deity with fine silk clothing and valuable ornaments, apply sandalwood paste, offer a flower garland, display a mirror, and offer incense, flowers, and a ghee lamp and achmaniya. Next, one should offer 4 kinds of food, those that are chewed, licked, sucked, and drunk. One should then offer scented water, betel nuts, a flower garland, and finally, arati. Thereafter, one should arrange a bed that is decorated with flowers, place the deity upon it, and fan him with a chamar and peacock feather fan. One should then sing, play musical instruments, and dance before the deity. All of these aspects of deity worship should be performed on special days, such as Ekadashi, or if one has the means, on a daily basis. Vidhina vihite kunde mekhala gartave dibi agnim adhaya parita samuhet paninoditam. After constructing an arena as enjoined by the scriptures, utilizing a sanctified belt, a sacrificial pit, and a raised altar, the devotee should perform a fire sacrifice. He should ignite the sacrificial fire with wood that he has personally collected. Sārārtha-darśinī. Here, the procedure for worshipping the Lord in fire is being described. 3 mekhala, each about 4 inches long, should be used. The depth of the pit should be about 1 foot. An altar mound should be prepared around the pit. In this way, one should make preparations for performing a fire sacrifice. Paristiryata purukshe anvadhaya yatha vidhi prokshanyas sadyadravyani proksyagno bhavayetamam. First, one should spread kusha grass on the ground and sprinkle water over it. Then, one should perform the ritual of placing wood into the sacrificial fire while chanting the prescribed mantras. Thereafter, one should purify all of the items to be offered as oblations by sprinkling water upon them. After doing this, one should meditate upon me as being situated within the sacrificial fire. Sārārtha-darśinī. Thereafter, the sacrificial pit should be filled and covered with dry kusha grass, and water should be sprinkled in the 4 directions, beginning from the north. One should then sit down and meditate on the Lord as the Supersoul, situated within the fire. Tapta jambu nada prakyang shanka chakra gadam bhujai lasach chatur bhujam shantam parmar kinjal kavasanam spurat kirita kataka katti sutra varangadam Shrivatsa vakshasam prajat kaustubham vanamalinam dhyayan abhyarcha dharuni havishabhigritani cha prasyajya bhagavagharo datva chajya plutang havi juhuyan mulamantrena Shodasharcha vadannata dharmadibhyo yata nyayam mantray svishti kritam buddha. The intelligent devotee should thereafter meditate on the form of the Lord, whose complexion is the color of molten gold, whose 4 arms are decorated with a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower, and whose appearance is peaceful, and who is dressed in garments the color of the filaments within a lotus flower. His helmet, bracelets, belt, and ornaments decorating his arms shine brilliantly. The symbol of Shrivatsa is on his chest, along with a Kaustuba gem and a garland of florist flowers. Thereafter, the devotee should worship me by taking firewood soaked in ghee and placing it in the sacrificial fire. He should then offer as oblations into the sacrificial fire various items soaked in ghee. He should then offer oblations to the 16 demigods, beginning with Yamaraj, while reciting the mantras of each deity and the 16-line Purusha Sukta hymn, ending each line with Swaha. While pouring 1 oblation after each line of the Purusha Sukta, he should utter the particular mantra naming each deity. Sārārtha-darśinī. After igniting the sacrificial fire, one should place wood soaked in ghee into the fire. One should also offer ghee and other articles, such as sesame seeds, into the sacrificial fire while chanting the 16 lines of the Purusha Sukta hymn. While chanting the Purusha Sukta, one should pour ghee into the sacrificial fire and chant Swaha at the end of each line. Just checking the comments. Hare Krishna, Champak Didi. Okay, Maharashtrians make it in the way that it is mentioned. They're like dumpling things, right? Like that, right? Modak. Cool. Abhyarchyata namaskritya parshadebhyo baling haret mula mantram japir brahma smaran narayanatmakam. Having thus worshipped the Lord within the sacrificial fire, the devotee should offer his obeisances and then worship the Lord's personal associates, headed by Nanda. He should then chant the Mul Mantra of the deity and meditate upon the Supreme Lord Narayan. Tattvachamanam uchesham vishvakshenaya kalpayet mukavasam surabhimat tampuladhyam atharhayet. Next, one should offer achmaniya to the deity and then offer the remnants of his food to Viśvaksena. Thereafter, he should offer perfumed betel nuts to the Lord. Sārārtha-darśinī. One should meditate on the Lord Narayan, the Supreme Brahman. One should then chant the Mul Mantra and offer the remnants of the Lord's food to Viśvaksena. Finally, after taking permission from the Lord and Viśvaksena, one should honor the prasad. This is the opinion of Śrīla Swami. Upagayan grinan nrityan karmanyabhinayan mama matkata shravayam shinvan muhurtam kshaniko bhavit. Thereafter, one should hear and chant narrations about me, perform dramas depicting my pastimes, and sing and dance in ecstasy. In this way, the devotee should absorb himself in the festivities. Sārārtha-darśinī. From time to time, one should ecstatically engage in hearing about the Lord and glorifying Him, as well as chanting and dancing with great enthusiasm. Stavar uchavachai strotrai poranai prakritai stutva prasiddha bhagavan iti vandeta dandavat. A devotee should offer prayers from the Puranas and other scriptures, as well as prayers composed by himself and traditional prayers. He should pray, "O my Lord, please be merciful to me," and offer his obeisances by falling flat onto the ground like a rod. That's really very interesting, though. He should also offer prayers composed by himself. It's very neat, huh? I'll just do it from here. Sārārtha-darśinī. One should offer the prayers to the Lord that are found in the Puranas, which were spoken long ago by great sages and elevated devotees. One should appeal to the Lord by praying, "My dear Lord, kindly be pleased with me." After praying in this way, one should bow down before the Lord with great respect. Shiromat padayo kritva bahubhyam cha parasparam prapannam pahimam isha bhitam ritu graharnavat. One should place his head at the lotus feet of the deity, catching hold of the Lord's lotus feet with both hands while praying. O my Lord, I am most fearful of material existence where birth and death take place. Please protect me who am surrendered unto you. After praying in this way, one should offer his obeisances by falling flat before the Lord. Dandavat. Dandavat literally means, vat means like, and danda means a stick. So one should offer pranams like a stick. Flat like a stick. The procedure for offering Sārārtha-darśinī. The procedure for offering obeisances is herein being described. One should place his head at the lotus feet of the deity, and then catch hold of the lotus feet of the Lord. While doing so, he should pray, O Supreme Controller, please protect me, because I am greatly frightened by this vast ocean of material existence. One should not chant mantras, perform fire sacrifice, or offer obeisances just in front of the deity, to his left, or within the deity room. It is prohibited to offer obeisances while facing the deity or in back of the deity. And so one should offer obeisances by falling flat onto the ground, keeping the deity to one's left. One should then join his palms while offering his prayers of submission. Iti shesha maya dattam shirasyadhaya sardaram udvasayachchir udvasyam jyotir jyotishitat puna. After praying in this way, the devotee should place the remnants of my flower garland and so on upon his head. If the deity is meant to be sent away at the end of the worship, the effulgence of the deity's presence should be withdrawn and placed within the lotus of one's heart. That's an interesting verse. The deity is meant to be sent away at the end of the worship. The effulgence of the deity's presence should be withdrawn and placed within the lotus of one's heart. Sārārtha-darśinī. After offering prayers, one should gratefully consider how the Lord has mercifully given him the remnants of his flower garland and so on. If the deity is made of sand or other such material and must be immersed, one should withdraw the effulgence of the deity's presence and merge it within the effulgence of the lotus within one's own heart. Okay, so it's when a deity is like a temporary deity. Okay, verse 48. Archadishu yada yatra shraddhamam tatra charchayet sarvabhuteshvatmani cha sarvatmaham avastitaha. Among my various manifestations, such as the deity, one should worship me in the particular form that he has developed faith in. As the super soul of all, I exist within all created beings, as well as separately in my original form. Sārārtha-darśinī. The main criteria for deity worship is faith. It is due to faith of the worshipper that the Supreme Lord appears within the deity. The Lord's appearance as the deity is his mercy upon the conditioned souls who cannot perceive him with their blunt material senses. Those who are very materialistic are advised to meditate upon the Lord as the universal form. The deity form, Archa, is specifically mentioned in this verse because deity worship is essential for making further spiritual progress. With strong faith, when one becomes further advanced, he can realize the presence of the Lord everywhere. Sārārtha-darśinī. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the worshipable Lord of all living entities. As a supersoul, he is situated within the heart of all living entities. One should faithfully worship the Lord in those forms in which he can feel the Lord's presence. The deity form of the Lord is considered one of his incarnations. The deity attracts the faith of his worshipper and awards him auspiciousness. Inexperienced persons may think that the deity is meant for sense gratification of the worshipper, because superficially, the deity is made of external substances such as marble or brass. If one makes a show of worshipping the Supreme Lord while considering him an order supplier of one's sense enjoyment, it is to be understood that he is devoid of faith. It is one's duty to faithfully serve the deity by offering various items to the best of one's capacity. One's faith will never develop if he thinks that the deity is different from the Lord himself. The Supreme Lord is present within all living entities, and so the conception that other living entities and objects are meant for our personal enjoyment will distract one from the path of spiritual advancement. Indeed, such a materialistic conception is an indication of one's lack of faith in the Supreme Lord. By faithfully worshipping the deity, one can gradually become freed from such materialistic conceptions. Because neophyte devotees are Kanishta Adhikaris have such a materialistic conception of life, they cannot understand the position of an advanced devotee, and thus their faith is limited to the deity. While faithfully worshipping the deity, one realizes that the deity is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he can understand the distinction between the three classes of devotees, Uttam, Madhyam, and Kanishta. The Supreme Lord continuously resides within the body of a devotee who is merged in ecstatic love and never considers a Vaishnava according to his bodily designations. Evam kriya yoga pathai puman vaidik tantrikai archan ubhayata siddhim matto vindatya bhipsitam. By worshipping me according to the various methods described in the Vedas and Tantras, one achieves his desired perfection from me, both in this life and the next. Sārārtha-darśinī. The word Ubhayata means both in this life and the next. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. If one worships the Supreme Lord according to the rules and regulations prescribed in the Vedas and Pancharatras, the Lord fulfills all of his desires. Simply by the practice of chanting Vedic and Pancharatric mantras, one attains the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Maracham samprathishtapya mandiram karayed dridham pushpo dhyanani ramyani pujayatrotsavashritam. The devotee should more firmly establish my deity form by constructing a beautiful temple along with flower gardens. Sorry, I fell asleep a little bit. The devotee should more firmly establish my deity worship by constructing a beautiful temple along with flower gardens. These gardens should be set aside to provide flowers for the daily worship of the deity, as well as for festival occasions. Sārārtha-darśinī. There are many festivals to be observed for the satisfaction of the Lord, such as Janmashtami and Vasant Panchami. On these days, one should worship the Supreme Lord with special offerings and great pomp. Wealthy, pious persons should be engaged in constructing temples and gardens for the pleasure of the deity. Pujadinam pravahartam mahaparvaspatan vaham kshetrapana purograman tattva mat sarshtitam yat. One who offers the deity gifts of lands, shops, towns, and villages, so that the regular worship and special festivals may continue in a grand manner, that person will achieve opulence equal to my own. Sārārtha-darśinī. Those who are rich and pious will attain incomparable merit if they donate land, marketplaces, villages, or towns for the service of the Lord, so that his service may go on very nicely. Indeed, such persons will attain opulence like that of the Lord himself. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. After installing the deity of the Lord, one should construct a majestic temple and arrange for flower gardens so that opulent worship, regular processions, and festivals can be properly maintained. It is essential to hold festivals on the days of the Lord's appearance and so on. If one donates land, marketplace, or other assets and constructs residences for pilgrims and if they construct residence for pilgrims so that with the income, the worship of the deity can be maintained with great pomp, if he does all this, he will achieve opulence that is as good as that of the Supreme Lord. pratishtaya sarvabhaumam sadmana bhuvanatrayam pujadina brahmalokam tribhirmat samyatam iyat. By installing the deity of the Lord, one becomes the ruler of the entire earth. By constructing a temple for the Lord, one becomes the ruler of the three worlds. By worshipping and serving the deity, one attains residence in Brahmaloka. And by performing all three, one achieves a transcendental form like my own. Sārārtha-darśinī. The result of building a temple, either by one's own endeavor or with the help of others, is herein described. Those who arrange for the installation of the deity of the Lord, the construction of the temple, and engage in the deity's worship, that person attains a transcendental form like that of the Lord. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. By installing a deity of the Lord, one becomes the ruler of the earth. By constructing a temple, one conquers the three worlds. By worshipping the deity, one achieves Brahmaloka. And by performing all three activities, one attains a transcendental form similar to that of the Supreme Lord. Mixed devotional service has been recommended for those who desire such exalted positions. By careful consideration of the following verse, one can understand that it is also possible to construct a temple and worship the deity of the Lord without expecting anything in return. Salokya shashti samipya swarupaikam apyuta diyamanam nagrinanti vina matsevanam jana. A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. Salokya, sarshti, samipya, sarupya, or ekatva, even though they are offered by the Supreme Lord, even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By worshipping Lord Hari without any material desire, even while engaging in worldly activities while living within the material world, one is sure to attain the highest destination. Haribol Kishore. Yes, that's a beautiful verse. Pratimanaha tumi tumi shakshak vajanjanandan. Mamiva nairapekshayena bhakti yogena vindati bhakti yogam salabhata evam ya pujayetamam. But one who simply engages in devotional service without consideration of receiving anything in return attains me. Thus, whoever worships me according to the process I have described will ultimately attain pure devotional service unto me. Sārārtha-darśinī. One who worships the Supreme Lord without any ambition, renouncing all desires for karma and gyan, certainly attains the platform of loving devotional service. One who gives wealth, land, marketplaces, and so on for the service of the Lord without any expectation of reward will surely achieve all auspiciousness. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. The previous two verses were spoken by the Lord to attract those who are interested in fruitive results. In this verse, the ultimate purpose of worshipping the Supreme Lord is described. The ultimate goal is Lord Krishna himself. Love for the Lord is the highest attainment, although materialistic people cannot understand this. When one engages in the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord, it should be considered that worship of the Lord is perfectly accomplished, even without engaging so much paraphernalia. The platform of unalloyed devotional service cannot be attained by those who have a desire to accumulate wealth, enjoy beautiful women, and gain name and fame. Pleasing the Supreme Lord Krishna is the actual purpose of devotional service. Okay. Yasvadattam parardattam harita suraviprayo vrittim sa jayate vidbhul varshanam ayutayutam. One who steals the property of the demigods or Brahmins, whether donated by him or someone else, will have to suffer as a worm in stool for 100 million years. Oh my God. Wow, that's intense. Sārārtha-darśinī. After describing the glorious position of those who help in the worship of the Supreme Lord, the Lord now describes the fate of a person who steals the property of the demigods or the brahmanas. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. When one employs the things that were given for the Lord in the Lord, when one employs the things that were given for the Lord's service for one's personal sense gratification, he paves his way to hell, and thereafter birth as a worm in stool. Okay, this is the last verse of the chapter. Kartushcha sarater hetor anumoditure vacha karmanam bhagina pretya bhuyo bhuyasi tat phalam. Not only the performer of such a theft, but also anyone who assists, instigates, or simply approves of such an act must share the sinful reaction. According to the degree of their participation, they must suffer proportionate consequences. Sārārtha-darśinī. Those who help a person usurp the property of the Lord and the brahmanas must share the sinful reactions after death, because they are directly or indirectly responsible. Those who provide direct assistance suffer the worst consequences. Gauḍīya Bhāṣya. Those who utilize money given to the Lord for his those who utilize the money given to the Lord for his worship for their personal enjoyment, or who approve such an act, are liable to be punished by Yamaraj after death. Thus ends the translation of the 21st chapter of the Uddhava-gīta, entitled Lord Krishna's Instructions on the Process of Deity Worship, with the commentaries of Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura and chapter summary and purports by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. Alright, so now we only have 2 more chapters left, chapter 22 and 23, and then we're finished with Uddhava-gīta. Next chapter will be Jnana Yoga, and the chapter after that will be Bhakti Yoga. All right. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Hari Bol Sati Didi. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Maharaj Śrīla Gurudeva Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Swāmī Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Swarup Damodar Rai Ramanantari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai, Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Shri Uddhava-gīta ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura Sārārtha-darśinī Vritti ki jai, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Prabhupāda Gauḍīya Bhāṣya ki jai, Hari Naam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Devi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyayavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow. Oh yes, and I don't know what your devotional name is. I should know by now. But I'll see you soon, huh? In the Dham. Haribo. Cristiano Luna. Alright. Dandavat Pranams everybody. See you tomorrow.